Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I've been watching a lot of news. Which usually, it's not great. Every once in a while, something will happen that you're like, that's okay. I'll let that slide. It'll be bad news, but it's bad news that you can like live with, you know? Like there's one particular squirrel that's been attacking a bunch of people, and it's like really getting them. It's like the news came. You know how much a squirrel has a scratch? You know how deep it has to get to be newsworthy? Like, the news came and interviewed all these people. So far, he's got like 2 victims. Both people are like, he came right at me. But mostly is bad in a bigger way. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, this is, I guess, what bothers me the most is who they interview as well. When you're watching the news, you end up watching a lot of rich people, but they won't have anything to do with what's happening, really. It's like, why are you asking what he thinks? He does have money, yes, but like he wasn't even there. That's weird. And then sometimes the news will be about them because they're rich and they're moving money around. And we've done a thing now where we've equated being rich with being important. Because obviously money has power, it can bring you influence. But then at a certain point, you have to just accept that, like, yes, they have money, they don't know anything else. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I mean that from a place of like, we have equated having money with being really smart. You must be really smart if you got the money. Because you must be brilliant if you have lots of money, because it's the only way you can get money. Dude, I'm just saying, that's how they teach it. They're like, man, this guy was really smart. He had all the money. I'm sure he came about it by completely legal and ethical means, but like he has all this money. So he's probably really smart. We should just listen to him. And it's like, if that was how you got money, then yes. But it isn't. There's so many different ways to get money. Some people had an idea. They invented something. And then a lot of people were like, that's a great idea. We're glad you invented that. And then they buy so much of it that now this person is rich. Or you write a book. You write a book. You write a book and everyone likes the book, and then you put the book out and then the book is $20, but then like millions of people like it, which is millions of 20s. Even after taxes, that's still millions of 20s. So now you're rich, but you wrote a book. You don't know about anything but the book you wrote. But somehow, every time we watch them in the news, we watch them in culture, we're like listening to them for an opinion that is not the thing that got them rich. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that feels crazier by the day, because crazier and crazier people keep getting rich. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. Okay, like someone like a William Randolph Hearst, right? Like someone who's like old rich, like black and white rich. Remember that? Just in the no color pictures of them rich. You know what I'm talking about? You can't find a single color picture. If there's them in color, that's AI, because they were before color. So then people who were rich before colors came out, I will extend the olive branch to them that maybe they knew more stuff because they had to know a wide range of things, and there was also less stuff to know in a way. Internet hadn't been invented yet. You could go to the library, but they had whole Dewey Decimal Systems that really just sometimes slowed you down instead of helped you, because then you're like, why am I going by 3.5 instead of just tell me the title? And then they also couldn't look it up like regular, so you had to use the system. They couldn't be like, oh, it's right over there, because the computer said, because computers weren't out yet, and you didn't have color. So life was harder. And so I think someone who was very well-rounded and got into business and had a bunch of different businesses could be very smart, could be someone who could answer questions outside of just their field, right? present day, just present day is harder. It's harder to be smart about everything because everyone has access to almost everything. It also depends on how you made your money. Did you make your money from inventing something? Did you write a book? Did you start a company? And then the company was really successful. So successful, you could buy another company. And then now you have like 3 subsidiary companies under you. They're all doing well. Your big company's doing well. You're very successful. You know what to do when it comes to business. That doesn't mean you know anything about, like, I don't know, the environment. But maybe you made your money millions, maybe even a couple billion from buying with some starter money, some funding from people. You bought like a pharmaceutical company, and this pharmaceutical company didn't really do anything, and none of the drugs really worked, but you told everybody that they did. You told everybody that they did. You told everybody in a level that kind of made you like a snake oil salesman, like, oh, it's gonna come out soon and it's gonna fix everything. And then people were like, it's gonna fix everything? That's crazy. Almost nobody ever says that because that's pretty illegal to like tell people something's gonna do something, and then that's fraud. So for you to be like doing fraud on the news with your full chest, your company must really do that. And so then you get more investors, you keep doing rounds of, investing, you build up the company, and then it gets to the point where you're like ready to go public with nothing really. You don't even really have a company, and the drugs don't work. But you can either go public and then try to sell the company, you can just try to sell the company outright, and then now you get to leave with the money you made from the company that somebody else bought. You scammed. You were scamming. And some people are very good at scamming. Some people are very smart scammers. Like when you watch the documentary later about their scam, you're like, wow. Wow, incredible. Good scamming. It wasn't my money. Delicious. So some people have scammed their way into millions or billions of dollars. Some people have earned it in the way that you can earn it through creating something that people in the market want. So then that builds the money up. And some people just come from money. Some people already had money, but you just didn't know who they were because like their parents had sense enough not to try to be famous. So then they passed them a whole bunch of money, and then they showed up one day and they were like, I'm money. And then it's like, oh, okay, did he make all that money to just have money out of nowhere like that? It's like, no, he's actually really rich. And then you get what we have, like I had a friend who was talking to me about Elon and was saying he's like this like super genius. He's like this super nerd genius. And I was like, oh, what makes you say that? Like what, like why would you say that or something like it? Like what makes you think Like, what makes you think he's a super genius? I'm just curious, right? I wasn't even hating. I was just genuinely like, what makes you say that? And he's like, just, like Tesla and everything that he's trying to do with Mars and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, plenty of people try to go to Mars. And that's actually pretty common. I know plenty of people who smoke up on a Friday thinking they can make it to Mars. And some of them go. Some of them have been there. I have been in rooms with people so high out of their mind that you're like, you at least at Venus. There is no way. You stopped it. Okay. All right. Oh, I was trying. And trying is important. Everyone, look, if you have a dream, you should try. I want that for everybody. But trying isn't doing. He's not doing Mars. He's trying to go to Mars. He's trying to go to Mars. Also, Tesla, I'm pretty sure he bought that company, so he's smart enough to buy. He's smart enough to, like, use his money to buy something. I don't know if that makes you a super genius. So you can only equate, like, money with wisdom or being intellectual for so long before the bill sort of comes due. If you're so smart, what are you going to do with it? If the answer is just make more money, then like we don't need you. You know what I mean? And I say this because I was watching the news, and I don't even know why this was the B-roll that the news used, but it was a yacht, and I got mad. And I need to be clear here, I didn't get mad because it was like someone had a yacht and I want a yacht. I've joked about wanting a yacht. I don't want a yacht. What would I do with a yacht? Like, what would I even do? You know what I mean? I'm not mad that they had a yacht. I'm mad at the yacht. Do you know what I mean? Look, I don't care if you're rich and then you bought a yacht. I care that the yacht was dumb. This is a dumb yacht. This was, I think it was like $50 million, something like that, but it's a $50 million already. $50 million on a boat. That's like technically not a boat, it's a yacht, but it's a boat. It still does boat. It's a boat. It's a boat. You need to be in water for it to do its job. It's a boat, and a $50 million, and then the boat had a pool. The yacht had a pool, so you basically spent $50 million on a bucket. It's a bucket. It's a bucket in the water. That's crazy. That's so dumb. That's why you shouldn't have the money. It's not even for like a more. I wish I was coming to you for like a moral reason of like, I can't believe it. I can't believe someone would spend $50 million on a yacht while there are people starving in their country. I'm not even trying to appeal to you like your morality or anything. I'm saying that if you spend $50 million on a boat with a pool in it, you're in the water. You're in the water. The water's here. You're surrounded by water, and you're like, no, but I don't want that water. That's why you should have nothing. Actually, that's why I hope for nothing for you, because to need a pool, you're in the water. If you fell overboard, you'd be able to swim. You want to go for a swim? Just tip over. You'll be swimming. And instead, you had a pool put on a boat. You had a pool installed on a boat. You had different water in your boat with the water surrounded. That is an I don't want to get up to get the remote level of lazy to swim. I could fall overboard and swim and maybe drown, or I could have a pool. I could have a pool and swim in that and maybe drown and maybe and maybe you will and maybe I hope you do. Like it's a pool on a boat. Sounds like a riddle. Why would you? Did swimming in it. Swimming in it. Swimming in it just to get out and be like, oh, I think I'm gonna go look at the water. A yacht with an infinity pool on it. A yacht with an infinity pool. You know what else is an infinity pool? You know the original infinity pool? You know the first infinity pool? It was a pool so big, people thought there was an edge and you would fall off. That's how big the actual infinity pool was that you're in right now, but you want it your own. And then on the yacht, this thing will be like $50 million. And then they'll give you a little tour of the yacht. I've watched a tour of a yacht before because sometimes I hate watch things. Because sometimes I have a lot of like hate in my heart, and you would think the only way to get hate out is with love, but sometimes it is with an overwhelming portion of hate. Like when you actually indulge in the hate, and then you have so much hate that it is spilling out of you, and then you look at all the hate on the floor and you're like, that was too much. Let me not do that again. But for the level of hate that I had, I did watch a whole like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous type thing. Let me tour my yacht, right? And so the whole time they were touring the yacht, he was showing me basically an apartment, which is kind of cool. But it's only cool because it's a yacht. If we were on land, you'd be like, oh, you're middle class. Like that's what's so insane about a yacht is that it's like you get a tour of the yacht and already there are things that, like, just to be on the yacht make you uncomfortable. So they'll have like 3 tiers, right? And they'll be walking around the boat, and you see even the cameraman trying to follow the rich person, trying to tour the yacht. There's not enough room between the rail and the side of the first floor apartment for you to really walk. So now he's over here being like, we got this one in 2015. Cameraman's trying not to fall overboard, and then he takes you inside and he's like, here's the bed, and the bed is like, fine. It's a bed. It's a bed. A bed. It's not mind-blowing. It's not even $50 million worth of bed. It's just a bed with some floor next to it. So far, my mind isn't blown. Nobody's floating. Nobody's like floating in midair and making it look like a experience worth $50 million. And then, you know, they go up to the next level and they're like, oh, and we have a kitchen here. And it's like, the kitchen isn't a kitchen. It's like a kitchenette. Just like as someone who has lived in Brooklyn for a long time, this is my apartment. Maybe that's also why I'm upset. You put my apartment on a boat and then paid $50 million for it, and we're supposed to think that you're smart. No. No. Why? No, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's also like you're giving yourself away. You already are willing to buy a $50 million yacht while there are people struggling in every country in the world. It really doesn't matter where you're from. And I'm not even telling you what to do with your money. I'm just saying, just know that about yourself, that you're willing to buy a $50 million yacht and show it off as people are struggling in your country, whoever you are, whatever country this is. If you know, right? But then to be like, oh no, I'm just gonna be in international waters for like a kitchenette amount of time. All right, that sounds like crime. That sounds like... You kind of admitted to me that whatever you plan to do something illegal. You're like, no, I'm gonna need a lot of supplies and a kitchenette. And I don't even know why I got mad about this, but they had a shower, but the shower wasn't like a shower. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, you've been in a nice hotel room with a shower, and you've been like, oh, this is great. And you could, the shower looked a little like prison. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been to prison, but I've watched some documentaries. And the shower, just like, because they were trying to make it sound like it had all these features. They were like, you know, you can get the waterfall. There's also, a spout that shoots this way, and then you have the one that's like mounted into the wall that just shoots across. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. But in the world of showers, I've taken a lot of showers in my life, right? Every day, and the shower shooting across either screams high school gym or prison. Like, it's... The shower shooting across... Just a perpendicular shower is not luxury. Floor to ceiling glass. And glass as the floor and glass as the ceiling. So you can look down. So you can look down and be like, look at all the fish. Look at all the... What a mind-breaking... Look at all the fish that are passing by. It's like an aquarium. It's like my aquarium. I guess the world is like my aquarium. It's like, no, you're in the aquarium, you idiot. You're the one. You're actually the one that's boxed in. You moron. You're the one that's in the glass. How does that appeal to you? You're the glass. Like, you're the fish. You're the fish. You are the fish. The fish are swimming by like, what is... Oh, wow, I didn't know we got a zoo. I had no idea that we had a zoo. You're the fish. That's crazy. Just for the glass. All glass. And the fish swimming by, wondering, wow, even the fish are like, this is what you do with $50 million. Okay. All right. I mean, live your life, you know. And I think that's also why I got so mad, is because it's like you bought this $50 million yacht and you're not just greedy, you wasted it. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna spend $50 million, impress me. You know, make me go, wow, yeah, that's definitely better than feeding people. Do you know what I mean? It's $50 million. You should be able to get some dope stuff for $15 million and not just have a Brooklyn apartment on water that's shaped like a bucket. You know what I mean? It's just wasted $50 million. All right. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. I was angry enough about it, and I just needed to let it out. But it's like, at $50 million, like, just the land. You could buy acres of land. You could own a forest. You could own a forest and everything in it. You could go to a forest that you bought with your millions of dollars and walk right up to Bambi and be like, I own you now. Like, that's, you could do that. And instead you're like, no, it's nice to almost drown in a boat. That happened one time. There was a guy who had a yacht, and he had a pool in his yacht, and I don't know if he got like caught cramp or something, but he did like drown in his pool in his yacht. And I read about that, and I was like, and it's probably not a good response to have. That's not nice at all. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do what I did. But the laugh escaped. It wasn't like, I wasn't reading being like, ooh, I hope I see that. I was just reading, and then it was like, oh, and okay. Wow. Because it's just, it happened, I think, because we became so genuinely obsessed with money. Like, you know, the U.S., America, we start out as a sort of land of opportunity. People would come here for a fresh start. Usually it was like a fresh start. It wasn't actually like this land. We have like a money-hungry revisionist history of why people came here. There were people that came here because of religious persecution and for like a fresh start. Because you could get off a boat and just tell them your name was Larry, and they'd be like, all right, and then they'd write it down. There was no, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if you get that in human history ever again, to just show up and be like, no, I'm Dave. I don't even know who you're. That's how we got like murderers. Like, there was a whole theory that like Jack the Ripper may have come to the US. That's how fresh of a start you could get. You could flee London after some of the most horrific crimes known to man, show up at Ellis Island, and even say, yeah, I'm Jack. Like, just, you could even tell them that, and they'd be like, all right, good to go. Mr. Rapar? And people would do their best, and people would try to build themselves up in spite of all different types of persecution, because that was a time in America where like white wasn't even white yet. That is crazy, right? White was not, if you were Irish, it was like, you're what? You know what I mean? Like, it was, like, I've been reading about it in history. Italian, you would be Italian, they'd be like, oh. I don't even know who was white. Looking back at it, it's like, I guess if you were British, but then if you were too British, they were like, I don't think you're loyal to this country. You accent all thick. Just hate. Everybody was hating everybody. Everybody had to build up as best as they could that came here, especially people who came here with nothing, and then they built themselves. And look, this is where we really started to go awry, on top of already like having slavery and stuff like that. We started to build a system where as long as there was someone beneath me, I was like, I'm fine. It started to become more about who's under you than you even doing well for yourself. It's a thing you see echoed today, where there are people who are not doing well, but as long as this person's doing worse, then they're fine, you know? And as you build up, as you have more and more money, as you can pass down more and more money to your kids and everything, as you can one day be so rich that you pass down the money, and then you pass away, and then your kid shows up at the news one day to be like, I'm money. Like that, like, that kind of turned into what the American dream was. It went from like land of opportunity, get a little slice of this place for yourself, really build something, be able to take care of yourself and your family, and it became like, are you rich? People wanted to be rich so bad that we looked at anybody who was rich as wise, that we need to do whatever it is they're doing to get where they are, because I want to be where they are. Never mind their sort of moral character, never mind how they treat people, or even how they got that money. They have $100 million. I want $100 million. I'll do whatever they tell me to do. The type of person that was willing to tell the masses how to get $100 million was not actually telling them that. They were like telling them how to give me $200 million. And I think it doesn't become apparent how crazy that level of wealth is always, because we're used to these people as characters. Right? So like you're used to like a Zuckerberg as an idea of a person, because he is an idea of a person. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, look. I'm saying that he is his idea of a person. Like this isn't coming out right. I'm saying that he is doing a perfectly fine first impression of a person. I'm saying, I want you to hear me when I say this. I'm saying that, you know how when your 4-year-old draws you, that's what he's doing as a person. Like he is, as a person, Mark Zuckerberg is being like, hello. That's what people say, right? Hello. And so he has, over $100 billion. And I think we can fathom that money, but we can't. Even when you try to count it, even when people make charts and they're like, guys, a billionaire doesn't even fit on the chart, right? You'll still see someone who is incredibly wealthy, and they only have we know them from being rich, and they only have $500 million. Like that's how crazy it is. It's like they're halfway to 1/100th of where Zuckerberg is. I think that's why I get so frustrated when I see the news, because you're watching the news and you're watching someone like Zuckerberg be on the news, and you're like, why? What could he possibly have to say that should be on the news? And here we're like, clearly stations are on sides, networks are on sides, right? But no matter what side, they can't just be like, this should never happen. And that's because we let rich people buy up all the news. So now a rich person owns the news. And so even if a journalist, someone who went to school to be a journalist, and someone who would like to tell people the truth as they find it out, they would like to do what they do in France, where in France they're like, this is the news in French. And then they want to do that, but in English for us. And then someone comes up to them right before they go live on air, and they're like, oh, don't say it's bad though, just say it's happening. You know? And so you see Zuckerberg have this huge, huge data center that's gonna decimate everything around it, and why? Like truly why? I don't think we know. We're watching these people, watching 5 companies basically prop up the S&P 500. S&P 500 is made of, I think, 500 companies. Make no mistake, without those 5 companies, the market would be correcting. It would be wherever it is supposed to be because of how the other companies are doing, which is how most companies are doing, which means it's how most of America is doing. But we've propped it up with these 5 companies. These 5 companies have gone all in on AI, and they've gone all in on AI in a way that functionally does not make sense. You look at Sam Altman, another candidate for person. You know what I mean? Like Sam Altman only looks confused when you ask him a moral question. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. there's a look. All right, I shouldn't even really talk about this, but it was wild. I watched like Tucker Carlson interview Sam Altman, and Tucker Carlson kind of implied, he was like, hey, there was that OpenAI whistleblower who basically said that y'all were violating copyright law and like stealing a bunch of information and everything, and then he died mysteriously. What do you think about that? It's weird to watch Tucker Carlson unleashed on somebody you hate. Like, it's... It's like when the bulldog that you've been scared of in your neighborhood your whole life finally bites your bully. You're kind of like... They seem to be canceling each other out right now. I guess if he was gonna bite anybody, it's good that it's him. And you see Sam Altman like clam up. Here's the thing. I'm not saying, can I be 100% with y'all? Can I be really honest with y'all? I am not saying at all that Sam Altman had anything to do with that young man's death. I am saying that interview didn't not make it look like it though. Like that. I try my best not to judge people because sometimes I don't even know what I'm gonna react like or do next in a certain scenario, right? And I think too often what we do to people is we say, I know they did this thing because of this thing, right? But all I'm saying is when you watch the interview, here's the thing. If I didn't like someone, right? I would be like, what? What kind of accusations? What are you trying to say? He asks him, and Sam is like, better start saying words soon. One of two things needs to happen in the next millisecond. Either you need to start saying, profusely that you had nothing to do with this and everything, like you need to really stake your claim that like you had nothing to do with this and you're maybe even very upset by the line of questioning or something. Or if you are a robot, now would be a good time for your face to like open up like Men in Black style and have like a little alien be like, how dare you, right? Like that would be great. Because this, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't get caught cheating. This is asking you about murder, right? No. None of that. Just a lot of like, it was very sad, and we, actually, no, I was just, it's just, I don't even know how to react because I've never been accused. And then Tucker quickly goes, I'm not accusing you of anything. Tucker be like, I'm not, hey. Tucker act like he on a roller coaster at his own interview. What? What? No, I'm not. You know, that's concerning, right? That's yeah, someone could beg the question, right? And then, look, to be fair, I didn't watch the entire interview. Maybe he came out with a very convincing answer 20 minutes later. But the substantial portion that I watched didn't look great. And I don't know. We have, OpenAI with Sora, with ChatGPT. We have these large language models that are basically meant to take us to like the next level, and it doesn't seem like they're doing that. It just doesn't seem to be the case that it's taking us to what was promised, right? We were promised almost a higher consciousness. We were promised to be able to do our jobs with ease. And then in the backdoor deals, companies were promised that they'd be able to fire all of us. You know what I mean? There were always two simultaneous pitches. One, the pitch to us was like, this is going to improve your life. It's going to make you more efficient. It's going to be faster. It's going to get rid of menial tasks. The pitch to our bosses was like, he'll be out of here in like 3 months. Come on, man. And so far, AI is failing on both those fronts, because we aren't elevated to some new form of consciousness. If anything, AI is giving people psychosis. Plenty of people have AI psychosis and becoming like more normal quicker than people are realizing it's happening. And here's a good test of the psychosis, right? If they talk to the AI like a friend, that's it. Did they name it? Is it called ChatGPT, but they called it Clarence? Then yes. They're in it now. If you're here and you're like, don't talk about Jan like that, you need to break loose. I pray for healing in your life, that you can break the psychosis. Because these large language models, they are imitations of what it would be like to connect with a person. It's not connecting with a person. It's doing an imitation of a person, and it's doing a better imitation of a person than we've seen so far. Even Zuckerberg can't touch the level of imitation of a person. This is why people think they're talking to a friend. And the understanding is that AI is going to destroy the planet. It needs so much energy to make a video of Pikachu pulling a cop over. The actual model, like you look at Sora, right? Because they just released Sora, and it can do all these things. It can like make Martin Luther King rap or whatever. Like it can do all of these like very weird things that nobody asked for. And apparently, every single one of those things costs OpenAI $5 to make. So like when people are just playing around on the thing and they're just like, look, I made Bob Ross high five Gandhi, $5. All right? So they are burning through money. We don't have a sustainable system for the energy. So why keep doing this thing? The theory is that they are doing it because they believe that when they get there, this thing will essentially be some sort of like all-knowing, all-understanding, thinking further, thinking light years ahead of us. It'll basically be God, right? And if they could like own God, then maybe they will be like a God, right? Because you'll basically have the company. You'll have the company that tells you every move to make in the market to own other companies, every move to make to protect yourself from other companies that are come after you. You would be done. You would be, you know what I mean? And that's terrifying. That's a terrifying idea that not only that someone would want that, but that they would barrel towards it at the risk of burning up the planet, of taking up all of the water, like it's an insatiable need for like power, for control, for influence. And then you watch the news and you see that these same people, these people that don't even know how to act like people, spend millions of dollars on a yacht that is basically a bucket. It's a bucket. It is. That's how you know they don't know anything. This is what you spent the money on? Knucklehead.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
Because it genuinely has been an insane week, you know? Yeah, no, I know. No, it's that part. I'm not gonna talk about it forever, but yeah. Oh, it's what you came for? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't want to hear about my life. No, okay. You know, Trump took office and he immediately signed a wild amount of executive orders. They've been one-upping each other every presidency for a little while. Like, I'm pretty sure Barack Obama signed more than Bush, and then Trump signed more than Obama, and then Biden signed more than Trump. But this was like astronomical. This was a whole lot, because basically Trump went ahead and signed executive orders that rolled back a lot of what Biden did, plus his own. All right. And he did some sweeping stuff. Like, he signed an executive order that began the steps for the U.S. to leave the World Health Organization. I did not do it. But what feels kind of wild to me about the executive orders that Trump is passing, and a lot of the things that we're going to see for the next few months into the rest of his presidency, is basically just a blueprint of everything that Project 2025 said that they were going to do. It's a project that he said he knew nothing about and had nothing to do with, but now that he's in office, they seem hella tight. It's kind of like when you tell the police you don't know somebody, and then the police are like, but here's a picture of you two right here. And the picture hella incriminating, because it's not you just happening to be in the picture with them, it's you being like, hey. You say that you're not boys, but in this picture here, you're holding a different picture of the two of you together. You're like... And sure enough, yeah, Trump signed an executive order that would start the process of the U.S. leaving the World Health Organization. And I feel like there are some things that Trump is doing because they're his idea, and some things that he's doing because his aides and the people that wrote up Project 2025 are pushing him to do it for whatever their own reasons are, right? Like, I feel like they went to Trump and they were like, we need you to pull out of the World Health Organization. Then Trump was like, who? And they were like, yes. And he was like, yes, what? And they were like, who? And he's like, who? And they were like, that's what we're saying. Who's who? And then he was like, I'll do what you want me to do, but I just need to know who it is. And it's like, who it is? That's who we want you to do it to. We have to pull out of who? Pull out? Who? Where? Yes, because we believe that who is dangerous. Who is dangerous? Yes, who is dangerous? Where is who? Well, sir, who's all over the world? Who is dangerous all over the world? Yes, that's why we have to pull out of. I'm not in who, by the way. I'm just standing here. We're just gonna put it on a piece of paper and we need you to sign it. All right. And this is my main thing when it comes to pulling out of the World Health Organization, is that a lot of people take for granted things that are functioning in their life. Things are either good, you expect to be good, and things that are working, you're just like, yeah, it works because it's supposed to work, right? But sometimes we don't ask enough questions on how a working thing got to the way it was. And there hasn't been enough time in between when it didn't work and now for us to remember when it didn't work. Because if we lose access to the World Health Organization, it hurts the World Health Organization by a lot, but it also hurts us. Because then we lose access to their labs, to their data. Most of what happens and the way that cures and vaccines come about quickly is because all these countries are able to share information, which all sort of help us leapfrog over the last breakthrough that another country had. And because it's not a race, it's just shared information. It's just a group project. And our pharmaceutical companies, by the way, also need the World Health Organization to just stay on top of things, right? And I'm no fan of pharmaceutical companies. I'm just saying I'm a fan of people who are sick getting help, right? And so my thing is, if you pull out of the World Health Organization, as good as the doctors that we have in the US are, or at least can be, it won't be long before we're all just sort of WebMD. You know, it won't be long before a new thing, take something like COVID, right? No matter what you believe about the origins of COVID, you understand that something started up in China. And then because of the World Health Organization, everyone was able to talk about it, do testing. They were able to share findings. We were able to get to a vaccine pretty quickly, right? So now, let's say something comes out of another country. And we may know it's coming out of the other country from the news, but we don't actually know any breakthroughs because we're not sharing that data. And everyone has to start all over again every time they try to have a breakthrough. So now you'll just be a regular person walking up to other people like, hey, I'm just asking, just in general, just because I'm curious, but is anybody else like farting blue? No, me neither. No. That's crazy. I don't even know why I said that. That's just like crazy, but like it can happen. You know, I've been hearing on the news that it can happen, and there's people whose whole bathrooms look like a Smurf died. Like it's just, stuff can happen, you know? Just curious. Yeah. And then maybe someone does get sick, and then that sickness starts to spread. And maybe it's not something that we're used to. It's a completely new thing. So now you have somebody being like, hey, is anybody else that was like not born double jointed, been acting double jointed, like just everything can go in every which way? Because double joint people, they seem to not hurt when they do it, but I'm in a lot of pain. So if anyone has any ideas on what to do, I've been eating as much as I can to lower inflammation, but I'm still got my head spinning all the way around when I fall asleep. And then you won't be able to distinguish certain things because there are things that are not related, that we know through science are like not related even though they're similar, right? You'll be able to know if you have a new thing or if you have a regular version of an old thing. Just walking up to somebody like, hey, look, I'm not trying to get the word out like that. I'm just curious if you've ever heard of this. Do you sleepwalk? Oh, you sleepwalk too? Oh, great. Do you ever sleepwalk and just wake up with a knife every night? Like, does that, just me? Okay. We'll have to look into it. This dude also signed an executive order, the one they promised to, delaying the TikTok ban. But while he was talking about it, after he signed it, he was basically saying like, oh yeah, you know, the US should own some part of it, maybe 50%, maybe more, who knows. And it's hard to tell when Trump talks about what the government should do, if he means the government should own it or he should own it. Because I'm not gonna lie, this TikTok thing is the most mob boss thing I've ever seen. It's the most like, oh, you like your little thing, like, okay, maybe I own some of it. Maybe I own the whole thing. How about that? How about you get out of here, all right? It's mine now. One of the pettiest things that Trump did was he used an executive order to take back John Bolton's security detail. Now, I don't like John Bolton. I'm not like crying for John Bolton or anything. And if you know John Bolton, you'll know who I'm talking about. He looked like a Scooby-Doo villain. John Bolton got the mustache of somebody who has retired from tying women to train tracks, all right? This dude one of my favorite John Bolton memories was one time he was on, I think it had to be Fox News, he was on, and for some reason, they must have been trying to kill time or something, they put John Bolton, now he was old back then, so this is old, but he was still old when this happened. They put this old man on a hoverboard. And it was as great as you could imagine. They literally try and explain to him what to do on the hoverboard while he's on the hoverboard, which is the worst time to tell somebody how to operate a hoverboard. Don't let them get on and then be like, okay, now subtly. And so then this man, not knowing what to do, sort of moves his hips a little bit, and he just starts spinning. And you can go back and watch the clip. This man is screaming, ah, ah! But Trump took back his security detail, and it was just to be petty. It's just because he doesn't like John Bolton, and John Bolton doesn't like him, right? But it's one of the pettiest things I've seen from a government official, because all he's really doing, all Trump is really saying is like, hey, look, now that I'm back, I just want to make sure if you have any ops at all, that they have as little resistance as possible. Him pulling John Bolton's Secret Service detail is like if I uncalled 911 for somebody. Like they called 911 and I called right after, be like, hey, that last dude, he was just playing. Don't come. It's not a big deal. Don't come at all. I know he's like, oh, he has a knife or whatever, but don't come. He was just trolling. Even the executive order he signed renaming the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. This is one thing that has to stop. It has to stop immediately because we cannot make it this hard on these kids. I remember when I was a kid. I remember when I was a child in school and they told me that Pluto was not a planet, but it was, but it wasn't, but it was, but it wasn't, and it is, but it isn't. And I failed every test where they asked me what Pluto was. I was like, there was one time where it was a fill-in. You had to describe the planet and you had to talk about what gases and everything the planet was made of and why we couldn't live on that planet, why Earth was perfect to live on. And when we got to Pluto, I didn't know what to say anymore because it had been a planet and then it wasn't a planet and then it had been a planet and it even changed like astrological signs or something like that. And so I was like, you know what? It's up there. How about that? Changing the Gulf. And then you even had publications like The Guardian being like, we're still gonna call it the Gulf of Mexico, but we will call it Gulf of America for context in places where it seems fit, where the president is being quoted. I was like, it is or it isn't. No. Then you had Trump signing executive order, you had Trump pardoning everybody from January 6th. That's wild. You ever had somebody go to jail from your neighborhood? Maybe this is just too specific to me, but you ever had somebody go to jail from your neighborhood and you're like, I'm not a snitch, but thank God. Oh. There was this dude named LaDon, right? And I can say his name because he never gonna get out. But there was a dude I knew named LaDon, and I remember when he got locked up, I was like, oh no, don't. Like, you know what I mean? Because you wanna show that solidarity, but the police were taking him. I was like, oh, how dare you, 5-0. I can't stand 12. LaDon, no. Oh, but LaDon was wild. He's like a proper criminal. It's like, you know, because then his boys were wearing like Free LaDon shirts, and I was just like, Anytime I saw one of them, I was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't have the support that I think it does. There was even one of his friends that wrote to the local, I think it was council person or something, trying to get him to look into it. And I'm not gonna lie, I low-key did like a John Bolton, and I also wrote to the local council. I was like, hey, he was just playing. LaDon need to be in there. Don't pay any attention to what he's saying. Like, he just kind of wilding right now. You know what it is? LaDon owe him $20, and he want the 20 back. He doesn't want him free. He should not be free. LaDon a bad person. LaDon was a bona fide monster. So now imagine LaDon go to jail. The hood is free. I've never, you've seen like homecoming parties for people when they get out of jail. I've never seen a party for somebody who just got arrested. Like, the people who felt like we finally had liberation were having a whole cookout off of this dude's charges. And then his boys with the shirt came to the barbecue. I'm like, are you happy or not? But now imagine LaDon locked up. We can finally rest easy. And then the president of the United States is like, actually, nah, LaDon, well, he not innocent, but I don't care. And now he's coming home. That's got to be what it feels like for some of these people. There were plenty of people, don't get me wrong, there were plenty people that were up there, did January 6th. They felt like the election had been stolen. They were sure that they had proof. They wanted to hang the vice president. They came in there with all the smoke, ready for all the juice. And then they get to go home too. This has to have been a wild experience if you are a J6er, because you were there. Remember when they pooped on the desk? They let them leave that day. They pooped on the desk that day, and then they were like, get out of here. And they were like, you right. And then they left. And they were very willing to be on camera. There were people interviewing each other about what they were doing. It's like, hey, Patriot, what are you doing? Oh, I'm tearing up Nancy Pelosi's office right now in protest of the election being stolen. This is me, James Atwood. I just made up a name, but they were saying their full names. They were saying their full names, and there was one dude that I'm pretty sure was trolling because he was literally getting people to say their address, and that felt insane. Like, I've never had to say my address out loud to somebody I didn't know. And then police come, and they're like, hey, get out of here. And then people left. And you saw them leave. You saw them leave different parts of the rotunda, everything, with smirks on their faces. And then over the course of 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, started picking them up left and right. People started, hey, he was there. Oh, they're posting about it. It was on their social that they were there and what they did, right? Them pepper spraying, them throwing stuff at police, all that stuff. And then they start getting arrested. And they're like, what? But I thought, how could this be? How? And then they were sitting in jail. And then, before Trump left, they were like, surely he'll pardon us. And he was like, I'll see y'all in a bit. You know? Because there was a lot of like misunderstandings about who we could pardon and who we couldn't, and when people were charged and all this stuff like that. And then he becomes president again. This dude is now president again. And then he pardons them. And woof. Normally, I'm used to seeing a lot of people get out of jail through like innocence projects and stuff like that. People who did not do something. And then they're like, I never thought anyone would believe me. I thought I was going to sit in jail, and now I'm free. And they're nothing but grateful. They get out, they're hugging their families, they're crying and stuff. And that has not been the case with the J6. Everybody that got let out is very angry. They're so angry, and a lot of them have already tweeted, I'm buying a gun. And it's like, why would you tell anybody that? You were already caught on camera doing the thing, and now you're like, and now that I'm out, I've got a gun. okay, LaDon. Like, it's crazy too, because this dude signed that executive order for Doge, for the Department of Government Efficiency, that Elon is supposed to run. Which Elon's also had a week. Because Elon was supposed to run Doge, and he was supposed to really like get in there of what the budgets were, of who everyone was and everything, and he was going to reshape government in the image that he saw best fit him, his businesses, and his worldview, right? And then, I don't know how he did it, but he already like did something that Trump didn't like.
Of course he did.
Like it happened quickly because this dude was supposed to have an office that was near the Oval Office, right? And then one of Trump's, I think a cabinet member, but maybe it's an aide. I can't remember who it was, but they told Elon outright. They were like, "Hey, you're not gonna be around here." And in fact, you're not gonna talk to the president. You're gonna talk to me. Which is wild. Now, don't get me wrong, that person is also like a huge MAGA Trump Republican, but still, the fact that they felt the need to wedge themselves between Trump and Elon already speaks volumes, because Elon, was standing behind the presidential seal. And this is how you know that a lot of people are truly out of their minds. This dude did a Nazi salute that we then debated if it was a Nazi salute for like every day after, including the day of. And I don't know if you should be allowed to talk if you can't believe your eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were people that were like, that was not a Nazi salute. He was throwing his heart out to the crowd. I'm like, well, he has a weird pitch. You know what I mean? I always throw my heart like this. And he did it twice to make sure you knew what it was, which is pretty wild. One thing that I like about Elon, which is not many things, is that he always manages to quickly make the people that take up for him look super stupid. Like, really dumb. Because so many people had so many different things. They came to his defense. It was several things at once. It was like, guys, no, that was not a Nazi salute, okay? It was a Roman salute. Oh my God. I'm like, all right, you ever split a hair before? Apparently you don't know what that looks like. No, it wasn't a Roman salute. He has Asperger's. I know a lot of people with Asperger's. I know a lot of people that are on the spectrum. I know a lot of people with, different types of autism on different parts of the spectrum. And when I've hung out with them, and they've needed to point, or they want to show me affection, you know what they never did? Anything that looked like that. It's pretty crazy. It's like 100% fundamentally insane that people would then, I don't know. Maybe there's some law I don't know about where if you are a news publication and you say someone did a Nazi salute and they didn't actually do a Nazi salute, that they'll like sue you into oblivion and you just won't exist anymore. But I feel like when you see it, you can say it. And the fact that so many notable publications were like, he did a thing that appeared to be, none of us have ever got the leeway that Elon got that day. If there was a video of me stealing out of a store, the headline would not read, Josh Johnson is holding something that appears to not be his in the form of a Best Buy electronic. You see how that works? You see how when you see something, you can say exactly what it is and the world won't shatter? I do think genuinely that if people call out what they saw, they might feel the need to do something about it. So rather than do any of that, let's sidestep it and just be like, look, maybe it would, but I don't know. Who knows? These do. Like, in what world do you not know? You saw it. And you know how you know you saw it? Because Nazis saw it. And you know who was excited about it? Was Nazis. They were very excited. And if they think they saw it, then what are you doing now? If they're very sure of what it was, what do you look like being so unsure? No, it was a Roman salute. No, he has Asperger's. No, he's just awkward and he gets excited. I'm awkward. I got a lot of problems. And you know what I've never done? Never. But truly, that's like, that's a thing that I watch happen. And then so many people are like, guys, he's anything but a Nazi. He's not a Nazi. He loves Jewish people. And then we pointed to tweets where people showed whole sick conspiracy theories against Jewish people and anti-Semitic rhetoric. And then he would comment under it, that's true. But somehow he's not a Nazi. And then, for everyone who was still like on the fence or still hardcore, pro Elon, he's not a Nazi, y'all. He went ahead and did y'all a huge favor. He attended an AFD rally via satellite in Germany and told them, hey, you gotta let go of the past, y'all. We can't keep feeling bad about stuff that happens. The AFD, by the way, which is the most Naziest of the Nazi, he's like, no, you gotta be proud of your Germanness. These are all dog whistles, but you can hear it. You know, I hear you, dog. And then Trump signed this executive order that rolled back protections and acknowledgement of trans people, all right? And, I didn't do it. And the thing is, you know, if there's anything that I wish Trump would ban that had anything to do with gender, it would be gender reveals. They're getting genuinely dangerous. I watched a gender reveal where they had, because they're creative in the worst ways. Because then I watched this gender reveal where they had a blue plane and a pink plane, right? And both planes were flying at the couple, right? And then I guess whichever plane, I don't really know how it was supposed to work because both planes flying, so I don't know how we're gonna figure out what the baby is. You know what I mean? So then the pink plane veered off to the right, and the blue plane kept straight. So I guess that meant it was a boy because they started celebrating, right? But they started celebrating without moving, and the plane was still coming at them. And so it's not a big plane, but it's a little bigger than a toy plane, and it hit the husband in the face and chopped his head all up. Like he's alive, he's fine, but you could tell it hit him hard, and he trying to still celebrate, but he's clearly concussed. He's 100% concussed, just didn't even put a hand out or anything. I don't know who is like winning with this thing. You know, maybe if you're a tech billionaire, you're doing very well because he's going to push through to like lower regulations so that you can make things as fast as possible, even if those things need some guardrails because they might be potentially dangerous, whatever, you know. And if you really hate other people, then yes, you're having a good week. But for Americans, like specifically for us, I don't know what these things do. You know? Like I don't know what rolling back what few protections there were for trans people does for me. I thought the election was about safety and eggs. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was like everyone was talking about eggs a lot. Like everybody was like really hitting those eggs. I didn't know eggs were everybody's favorite food. Like eggs. People weren't even talking about bread. They were talking specifically about eggs. I think a lot of people went to like Kroger or Walmart or something on the wrong day and they were like, hell no, eggs is my number one issue. I'm a one issue voter and eggs is that vote. And so I don't know what any of this has to do with eggs, but it doesn't seem like we're getting there. You know? Even the language of the executive order was weird. The language of the executive order was like, you have to treat and address people as the sex that they were assigned at conception, which is not how, that's not how anything works. If it's conception, dude, if it's conception, when it happens, then there's no men. There would be no dudes. This is not a plan. Like this is terrifying. Don't be wrong. There are plenty of people who are scared, and there are plenty of people who don't know what to do next. And one thing I really want people to stop doing, and I'm not anybody's boss. You can do what you want. You can probably, whatever, screw me. But we're not like cooked. Don't do that thing. Don't give up immediately. Like there's a sort of rhetoric and an idea that like, oh, we're finished and this is it, and like there's nothing that can be done. It's like guys, no. But then you see people devastated, giving up very quickly. Oh man, we're ruined. We're so cooked. It's like I mean, if you believe that, then we are. Like if you earnestly believe that, then yes, absolutely. That's what cooked looks like, because cooked is done, and you like your steak raw. So, yeah, I mean, like day one we're cooked. That's also, that kind of made me furious. I'm not gonna lie. Not even like an armed resistance attacking people or something like that. Oh, we're cooked. It's like, you saw him with his pen. Like I'm saying genuinely. People, please, if you feel anything, then you should openly speak it. One of the reasons that these things spread, why negativity spreads, why like the general pessimism towards movements spread, is because people let their doubt reign over everything, all of their discussion, all of their thinking. It's like I'm not saying that I know exactly what to do about executive orders that he passed that I don't agree with. Those things are for the courts to hopefully fight, But I will say, for every person that I know that was affected by an executive order that he has, that I know is scared, I talk to that person. And I tell them, hey, I'm at least here. Now, I'm not the president, but I'm here for you, locally, right? That's how you build community. And that's how you keep people from being afraid. Because people don't know. They genuinely don't know that there are people that are willing to back them up. They have no idea, right? He signed an executive order that was supposed to take away birthright citizenship for people who were not already citizens, and to stop any confusion, it was going to be birthright citizenship starting now, right? Because if it was for all time, then like half of his cabinet, they wouldn't even know where to take them, put them. And then he started work on this thing that he'd been promising. And it was a thing that people didn't really think he was going to do, of like mass deportations. And so far, these are the numbers so far as I know them. Once again, I'm willing to be like fact checked. If I'm wrong. But this is from what I've read and from what I know, this is basically what has happened. They did some ICE raids in places like Chicago, and there were some in Texas too, Arizona, and like plenty of like sanctuary cities. That's ones they were like targeting initially. I'm not sure why, because you would think in the red states that vote for this thing, they would want it first. Like that just seems like it's making nobody happy. And they rounded up some people and they went ahead and took off for Mexico. And so then they take off from Mexico. We did it. We raided. We got some people. Gonna drop them off at Mexico because these are Mexican illegal immigrants, right? And so then FAA comes on and they're like, hey, don't land here. And I do think that nobody really thought that part through. I don't think people really thought. And then even when they let them land, they were like, don't let them off the plane. Just turn around. And they were like, all right, okay. We will be back though. We'll be back with more, right? Because I should be clear here that apparently from what I've read, just deporting these 80 people cost the taxpayer $700,000. So I do not know how we're gonna save any money. I don't know how this plan is gonna work. 80. There's supposedly 11 million undocumented immigrants in the US, right? 11 million, so 3.3% of the population, right? And we started with 80. If I owed somebody $11 million, and I told them, hey, I ain't got all that right now, but I do have this 80, I'm getting my ass beat. That's crazy. 80 and $700,000. I'm not in government. I'm not acting like I know how to fix a situation. I'm not acting like I know what to do about where we're at. But I will say this. If I know I got to spend $700,000 to get 80, this is just me. I'm not telling anybody else to do it. This is just me. This is what I would do if it were me and I knew $700,000 for 80. I would just tell those 80 people, listen, I'm gonna break you off some. Start a new life somewhere else. You get 1/80th of 700,000, right? And come back in like 6 months, all right? Because that's one thing that you will not hear. As this whole thing builds out, you will not hear about people coming over illegally. They're gonna act like it's not happening. They're gonna act like it's all going one way. They're denying everything. They're denying all of these legal ways to become a citizen, legal ways to gain citizenship, legal ways to get a card or just to be able to work in the US. They canceled a lot of appointments for people who were doing the right thing, right? And so my thing is just, use your logic and pay attention to what is not being said over the next few months to several years, because they're not going to want to admit that these people are coming in still, even while they're making these efforts, because it will make them look even more desperate, even less efficient, you know? Because they told us before the election all of these incredible stories about how migrants were coming in. They were like, and look, I don't even know how they're doing it, but in Honduras and Guatemala, they're disassembling themselves, mailing themselves here, and then reassembling themselves, and then walking around amongst us. But now that they've supposedly shut down the border, they want us to believe that all of these legal ways of entering have also just stopped. And that's not true. You're fighting a losing battle if it takes you $700,000 to send 80 people somewhere that says, hey, we're not... You know what I mean? That's one of the craziest things too. Is a deeply ironic thing that they did all this, sent the people over, and then the other countries were like, "Hey, those are American immigrants." No, that's crazy. No, and I think a lot of it. I think a lot of the tactics that have been taken and some of the logic that's been used on the news and everything is just is genuinely fear based. It's to rile you up. It's to make you feel afraid and everything. And even in the executive orders, 100 executive orders or so, and so many of them don't really say anything. They don't really do anything. You just sort of make a show of signing it. Because I'll be honest with you, I saw some of the raids that were taking place in some of the statements that people made, and how they're taking things that were normally off the table, they're putting them back on so they can come in your church, they can come in your school. People are scared to go to places that felt safe and everything. And I will say I don't know exactly what to do. I'm not acting like I have any answers. I just don't know how possibly this is the road, like this is the tack to take, you know? Like, people will say things like, oh, they don't pay any taxes. It's like, don't they eat? Then didn't they pay the sales tax? Didn't they pay? And by the way, this not paying taxes thing, they get paid under the table by Americans, by the way. There's no job that they have that an American doesn't give them. And pay them under the table in cash, and probably pay them a little less than minimum wage. Probably pay them in even numbers. So what money could you possibly stand to gain? And I'm not saying the money doesn't exist, that it's not there, and that there shouldn't be a path to legal citizenship so that they can pay all the taxes that we all pay. I'm just saying that, like, are they each owing more than like $700,000 when you put 80 of them together? I don't know.
Mira.